Hi students, welcome to the Chapter 5 lecture, at least part 1 of it. In this chapter we're going to be discussing the working cell. So we're going to put a lot of the terminology that we introduced in the last chapter into context. And this is a micrograph of a human skin cell. Okay, so Chapter 5 outcomes. We're going to be covering energy, how we obtain energy from food, ATP, enzymes, membrane transport, and osmosis and water balance. Okay, so let's start with some basic energy concepts. We all know that energy makes the world go round. But what exactly is energy? How can we define energy? Energy is simply defined as the capacity to perform work. Kinetic energy is the energy of motion, and potential energy is stored energy. So to get a better idea of these two terms, you can think of somebody diving into a body of water. When the diver is on the diving board, they have the greatest amount of potential energy of anywhere else in this diagram. So they have a lot of potential energy stored up in their body, in their muscle cells. When the diver actually makes the action of diving, they are converting potential energy to kinetic energy. When they are swimming and actually using a lot of energy, this is when that person has the least amount of potential energy. Climbing is going to convert kinetic energy back into potential energy. They're not using a lot of energy as they're climbing a ladder. They're definitely using more energy when they're swimming. Especially for humans, swimming is a very energy-intensive process. So when they're climbing back up the ladder, they're actually storing up more energy as potential energy. Energy can be changed from one form to another. However, it cannot be created or destroyed. This is the conservation of energy principle, and it's also the first law of thermodynamics. So if you were to think of energy as being contained in this block here, you have energy before some action, indicated by an arrow, and then the energy still exists, it's just in a different form after an energy transformation. So it's the same amount of energy, it's just been converted to a different form. Heat is a type of kinetic energy, and it's also a product of all energy conversions. It can also be thought of as randomized energy. So for example, if you have glucose from a food source combining with oxygen, you have cellular respiration occurring within your cells. That is going to produce ATP for your cells to actually do work with. And there's also going to be heat energy that's lost. So with every energy conversion, there's going to be some inefficiency. We're not going to be able to convert every bit of energy from our food into energy for cellular work. Some of that is going to be lost as heat energy. And our waste products from this cellular respiration reaction here, we're going to give off carbon dioxide as well as water. Scientists use the term entropy as a measure of disorder or randomness. All energy conversions increase the entropy of the universe. This is because some energy is always lost as heat, and no energy conversion is ever perfectly efficient. An example for this is food web trophic levels. This is basically to say that if you were to think of trophic levels in a food system, you would have producers such as plants and algae forming the base of a pyramid. You would have organisms that consume that plant or algae material in the next section of the pyramid. Then you would have the predators that consume those primary consumers in the third level of the pyramid, and then you would have tertiary predators that would consume those lower predators. So for example, a killer whale or an orca is considered a tertiary predator because it will eat other meat-eating animals such as seals and sharks. So with these kinds of food webs, you have the most biomass at the bottom level, and you have decreasing biomass as you move up towards the predators in the pyramid. This is because energy conversions are not perfect, and you lose some energy as heat with each transition in the trophic pyramid. So basically, an ecosystem can never support the same number of meat-eating animals as it does herbivores. And I really kind of phrased that wrong. It's not necessarily a numerical measurement, it's a biomass measurement. So the weight of all the predators in that ecosystem, if you were to somehow magically evaporate all the water within the living tissues of the predators, the biomass, which is the dry weight of the predators, can never be as much as the dry weight of the herbivores, which in turn can never be as much as the dry weight of all of the primary producers in that ecosystem. This is a complicated way of saying that no energy conversion is perfect, and you cannot have a perfect flow of energy from bottom to top. There's always going to be energy lost as heat, and you just simply cannot support basically an infinite number of rungs in a food web system. So this whole entropy concept is known as the second law of thermodynamics. And it's important to remember that the sun is constantly providing a flow of energy. So it's not like order cannot otherwise come about. It's just that with the existing energy in a system, you're going to increase the entropy of the universe. So as a review, the first law of thermodynamics states that energy can never be created or destroyed. And the second law of thermodynamics states that no energy conversion is ever perfect, and energy will naturally be converted from high quality to low quality. So energy lost as heat energy would be considered low quality energy, whereas energy that's actually used to perform cellular work would be considered high quality. And entropy increases. Okay, let's talk about chemical energy a little bit. Chemical energy is a form of potential energy, and it arises from the arrangement of atoms, which is released by chemical reactions. So the most common type of chemical energy for the human biological machine would be food. And you can see here that various foods will have a different amount of energy or calories. And of course, we're all familiar with the concept of exercising to lose weight or stay in shape. This is just because we are converting chemical energy that we've taken in from our food to energy of work, such as running, dancing, or bicycling. So all of these activities are going to burn a different amount of calories. Chemical energy is found in food, gasoline, and other fuels. Living cells and automobile engines basically use the same process to make chemical energy do work. So in the case of a car, we have a fuel rich in chemical energy, gasoline, and oxygen. It's going to cause combustion to occur in the engine. Some of that energy is lost as heat energy. Some of that energy is used to drive the wheels. And we're also going to have waste products, which are poor in chemical energy, such as carbon dioxide and water. Again, this is basically the same process that we use for cellular work. Of course, the mechanism is quite different. This is a biological mechanism that takes place within our individual body cells. But the overall concept of using fuel for work and producing waste products is the same. Okay, so to define cellular respiration, we can say it is the energy-releasing chemical breakdown of fuel molecules and the storage of that energy in a usable form. This provides energy for the cell to do work. One of the reasons that people like to watch birds so much is the incredible variety you might see at a bird feeder. And this is especially true in winter because there aren't as many natural food sources available for songbirds. And they're all just trying to stay warm and maintain their body weight during the lean winter months. So this female cardinal here is just gathering seeds from a bird feeder in order to maintain its body condition, in order to maintain the processes of cellular respiration and homeostasis, since birds are warm-blooded. Okay, so with food calories, a calorie is just the amount of energy that raises the temperature of a single gram of water by 1 degree Celsius. And we have a simple apparatus here, a calorimeter, that could test a food product to see how many calories it contains. So you could add water to a container here, basically ignite that food and see how much energy it has in it. And of course there are much more sophisticated ways of doing this now. But as far as all of your food labels go, each prepackaged food will have a nutrition chart on it that lists how many calories it has, and the same basic process is used to determine how many calories a food product has. The kilocalorie is the unit used to measure the energy in food, and it's technically a calorie with a capital C. So a calorie with a capital C is actually 1,000 calories with a lowercase c. We just abbreviate it as food calorie, but the calories we see on food labels is actually referring to the kilocalorie. So various foods, of course, with their corresponding calories. Some of these are kind of misleading. For example, pizza with pepperoni, 1 slice. You have no idea how big that slice is. Of course, if it's a tiny little frozen pizza, it's going to be a pretty small slice, but if it's If it's from like Lost River Pizza or something, it's probably going